Why, hello dear viewer. Awakening from my slumber, I realized but a few important details. First of all, I wish to thank you all. I uploaded my first video, The Tragedy of the Deep Docks, a classic hit, a few months ago, and so far this channel has raised 170 subscribers, and I can't thank you all enough for this. It also came to my attention that one of my videos, more specifically discussing Silksong's bosses, has reached over 1,400 views, which honestly surprises me quite a lot. I expected most of my videos to gain not much but a little attention. It seems as though these few vids have hit a market. Many of you wrote me that they are searching for Silksong content desperately all over the web. And to be honest, I feel you all the same. It was after all the reason for my channel's existence. On another note, it strikes me that most of my content is also a bit based upon the hope of another reveal for Silksong. For now, I'll try to disperse further into Hollow Knight lore, but since most of it is already discovered and explained, I'll also try some other things. If you have any wishes for my channel or ideas, then please write them down in the comments below. Now, let's get to this video. The 5 Great Knights of Halness are a mystery to many. I did a video, link in the description, on the Dung Defender, also known as Ogrim, the most loyal of the Pale King's Knights. But the rest of them I have only mentioned in passing. Isma and Drea dead, Ogrim gone at the end of the game, and Zamir disappearing during the game's course after you complete the Pale Flower quest. One though is the least known and the most mysterious. Unlike the other knights, you don't meet him during your playthrough through Hollow Knight. You never see his body, you never talk to him, and nothing is ever directly said about him aside a few remarks. This knight is known as Mighty Hegemol. As the Hollow Knight Fandom website puts it, Hegemol is the only great knight whose whereabouts are largely unknown. Well, who is this character? Hegemol is or was described as a great knight at the court of the Pale King. A strong fighter in his guild, he fought many battles together with the rest of the knights. He was the favorite great knight of Nailmaster Shiu, who you can actually meet in-game. Shiu tells you this: Mighty Hegemol, what a towering figure he was, though surprisingly soft-spoken for one so large. It seems Hegemol fills the characteristic of the big softy of the group, yet is also skilled in his own way. Ogrim in his dream fight mentions how he misses Hegemol's humor, another feature of this warrior. So now that we have accommodated to this fellow, skilled and big warrior, soft-spoken, funny, you know, what has happened to him? What was his fate? Before we speculate on this, let us look at what has remained of Hegemol in Hollow Knight. A statue of the mighty knight can be found just outside the City of Tears. To enter the city, one must acquire the city crest from a boss known as the False Knight. Coincidentally, this False Knight, one of the earlier bosses of this game, is our closest link to Hegemol's design and look. It is said that Hegemol was once resting from his adventures, though when exactly this has happened, timeline-wise, is pretty unclear. Most likely it was after the outbreak of the infection, though I am unsure about this. Hegemol was either defending the crossroads at that time or the city, where one finds the statue of him which I mentioned previously. Anyway, a creature known as a maggot must have found Hegemol at sleep. This maggot came upon the idea to steal this knight's big armor and did so. His motive though was to defend his own siblings, which is at least admirable. Now here's the important point: we have no idea whether this maggot then killed the knight with his armor or if he left him alone. Hegemol is an interesting character regarding the 5 knights, since his fate is completely obscure. We know only little of him and his history. We already described his characteristics already, but we also know that he was never shown, in the few designs which we have of him, to wield any weapons, which may actually mark him skilled in hand-to-hand combat, or more of a pacifist of his team, which would also make sense with, you know, big softy. So, Hegemol, what's the deal? There are some theories floating around the fandom on Hegemol's potential fate and who he might be. One fellow, known as Talos707, brought up the theory that Sly the shopkeeper, which you sort of rescue in-game, is Hegemol after his armor was stolen. Sly is a skilled swordsman, leader of the Nail Masters, and sells you rare and special items, which Sly, or Hegemol, might have brought back from his adventures. He has a few other hints, which he explains fairly well. I will put the link in the description below. Though there are also a few things wonky with this theory. Why would Shio reference Hegemol if he was in fact just his master Sly? Is Hegemol a sort of secret name, or did Shio just honestly didn't know about Sly's double life as a great knight? Also, why would Sly just give all his work as a knight up? Why didn't he search for the rest of the knights? Did he already know of their fates? Was his goal to forget all about his previous warrior life? I'll leave it up to you to decide. A few other characters have also been mentioned as possible candidates for Hegemol. Some have speculated the Pale Lurker to be him, though the Pale Lurker is in fact a female, which brings this theory to a dead end. Others guess the Hunter, though his design doesn't really fit the armor and character of Hegemol. But the false flag boss fight the Hunter pulls you on the player might be considered humorous for some. Now, what is my theory? Well, I have both pro and con arguments for Hegemol's death. Since the false knight or the maggot in armor attacks you, why should he have not killed Hegemol? Then again, he only wanted to protect his family from you, the player, which doesn't sound like something an outright villain would do. Perhaps Hegemol might make an appearance in Silksong. Now, I want to abstain from bringing every Howlnest mystery over to Fandom and the sequel, but a reappearing weakened knight might be a cool story idea, especially if Hornet recognizes this knight as one of her dad's henchmen. Perhaps he could be a cool side character for some quests. Yet I do not want to put your hopes up so high, dear viewer. The fact of the matter is that Hegemol is but a small, important, but small, part of the last game's lore. He is not really the focus of the plot, and his mysterious fate might just be bait for viewer interpretation. A good game needs at least a few mystery elements. Solving the mystery might be nice, but it's not really important and doesn't have much use, except maybe to quell our desires for answers. I don't believe that we will hear of Hegemol in Fandom or in any important way again. If he would appear in Silksong, that would be pretty sweet, but Team Cherry probably has bigger things to care about, for now at least. Who knows, we might get an answer someday, in a DLC, in a flashback, in whatever, mentioned dialogue or something. Until then, the fate of this great knight, the warrior of heart and comedy, the defender of Howlnest, Hegemol the Mighty, will remain forgotten and obscure. Speak soon.